think of the Ford Mustang and you probably think of burnouts, dangerous skids and straight line performance above all else.
But isn't it much more than that? Well, I'm not sure, because I've driven a lot of Mustangs in America and in the UK, and over here in the UK they've never really tempted me away from other more normal sports cars like your Porsche Caymans. The closest they've come was with the Mach 1 version of the previous generation Mustang, which did give it more, what's the word, sense of less crashingness on the road. And I've driven the Shelby GT500 on a track with its Predator engine, and that was also great. But this is the new one, or technically it's a really heavy facelift. And yes, it's got some challenges ahead of it, because this now costs from £58,000 for a normal one with the 5-litre V8. The inline 4, the Ecoboost is gone in the UK, although there are some signs that it does still exist in other markets. But this is the Dark Horse, which is a styling pack, and it's got some suspension tweaks and a tiny bit more power. Starts from £70,000. This one is 75 grand. It's the Dark Horse. I should point out that you can still get this as convertible, but not the Dark Horse pack, and it's still got the basic Mustang ingredients. So 5-litre Coyote V8 kicking out 453 horsepower, which is 50 less than you get if you get a left-hand drive one of these, which is a bit of a bummer. Sorry, an American one. This EU emissions stuff that keeps the power down. Torque is still 540 Newton meters. 0 to 62 ranges between 4.4 seconds for the 10-speed auto. Don't buy that one. Up to about 5.2 seconds. Let's take a look at it, because it's still a wonderful ball of anachronisms, but some fun as well. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking this is an all-new Mustang because it looks so different to the outgoing one. But if you look at all the glass bits, they're all the same. So it's not really actually changed all that much apart from the looks and some other bits and pieces, which I'll talk about. But you've got these new triple LED daytime running lights. You've got slimmer headlights. Even the normal non-Dark Horse one gets this big bonnet vent here, which actually is a real vent, and it's emanating a lot of heat from that 5-litre V8, which now gets the conrods from the old Shelby GT500. Now, if you get a normal Mustang, not the Dark Horse, it comes in a wide range of colours, some quite leery yellows, blues and reds and oranges. This is grey, which is a bit of a shame. And if you get the Dark Horse pack, you get these Mustang Dark Horse vinyls on it, kind of matte effect vinyls, and you also get these slightly dubious Dark Horse badges on the side for the extra equestrian touch. Now, because this is the Dark Horse, you also get a different manual gearbox in it. You get a nice solid feeling Tremec one, I think probably similar to the one you had in the Mach 1, which just feels tighter and has closer ratios as well than the Getrag one you get in the normal manual one of these. And did I say don't buy the 10-speed auto? I've driven it loads and I can't believe it's got any better, because it's constantly shuffling between ratios, and the manual is quite nice. Now, if you're paying over 10 grand more for the Dark Horse one, you'd want some extra stuff, and you do get some extra stuff under the skin. You get a different Torsen limited slip rear differential at the back for slightly more controlled skids. If you want to try doing that, don't do it near crowds or leaving cars and coffee meets. You also get adaptive dampers. You get Magna Ride adaptive dampers, so you can choose softness or firmness from the center console. You also get these different alloy wheels as well, which are aluminium and I don't know, they're a little bit forgettable. They look a little bit small to me, and you get that big wang at the back. Now, whichever Mustang you get in the UK, you get Brembo brakes up front, and you also get a car that weighs 1.8 tons and is 4.8 meters long. So it is long, it is big, and if you're looking at sports cars, it's reasonably heavy. But actually now everything else is heavier. This doesn't seem quite so bad, but there are things like the doors. You open the door, that is a weighty item, and it doesn't exactly shut with the reassuring thud you might get from something made in, I don't know, cliche, Germany. It is inside where the Mustang takes a proper leap into the 21st century, because it is way more high-tech in here than before. Now, some of you Mustang purists might miss the cowed dials and the land speed indicator and all that kind of stuff. I don't. I've got a digital dashboard which is eminently customizable. It's even got some nice touches, such as having the retro dials from a 60s Mustang, or there's ones from various other Mustangs through history, or you can just have Ford's modern dials up there. You've got wireless CarPlay, it's easy to use. It's got loads of features, this car, so you've got easy access now to all of the customizable driving modes. So you can have soft suspension, sporty steering, loud exhaust, blah, blah, blah. You can do it all very easily through here. You've also got Ford's track apps through here now, such as rev matching, which is really actually quite nice to have because heel and towing is okay, but with sportier throttle response in this, it can sometimes be a bit jerky. There's launch control. There's the old line lock, so you can lock the front wheels and do a burnout with the back to warm the tyres up. And there's the new drift brake, because what has flown slightly under the radar is that the Mustang now has an electronic handbrake, but look, it's got a lever to activate it. So you push it down to take it off, pull it up to activate it, but you never really need to touch it because it just operates like a normal electric handbrake. When you drive off, it comes off, and it's got auto hold, so when you come to traffic, you don't have to have your foot on the brake, which makes it easier to get a nice launch as well. But it has got a drift brake mode, so there's a track-only setting. I've not tried it, where you can yank that up and it will lock the back wheels and let you get sideways, as if you need any help to get sideways in a Mustang. But I really like this system. You've still got a physical volume knob, but all of your temperature controls are done through the screen, but they're always visible, so that's not too bad. And one other thing that has improved is kind of the perceived quality in the cabin. So yes, it is still a bit plasticky in places, and there's this fake carbon fiber stuff, but by and large it is squishier and nicer and less creaky and rattly than before, which is good because this one's 75 grand. As I said, storage, you've got 2 cup holders, got a wireless phone charger, you've got a decent sized glove box, and the door bins are pretty big, and you've also got a lidded compartment here with a 12 volt in it. Dark Horse models, as I said, they get a different manual gearbox, but they also get a different knob. It's a 3D printed titanium knob, which is kind of blue. I like a blue knob, but this one has been battered by the rings of many married people. It's already scuffed up after 5,000 miles. You've got Dark Horse inscription up there. Steering wheel's flat bottomed. It's quite nice. It's got physical buttons, no haptic ones. If you hold the speed limiter button, it turns the speed limit warning off, so you don't have to go through menus. I've really liked that, actually. It feels really quite nice. The only thing is, there's some nasty details, like the end of the indicator switch has got some real leftover flashing from the moulding, so that's rough. That wouldn't be acceptable in an old Fiesta, to be honest. Yes, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. I've remembered. It's got a B&O sound system as standard, and it sounds really good. You can adjust the driving modes on the steering wheel there, and there's a star button here, which someone has thoughtfully customized to put racetrack exhaust mode on. I like it. And a big red engine start-stop button there. That's it. It does feel a lot nicer in here. Back seat. The space isn't really for adults, but I've got both my young kids back there on booster seats, no problem. They've really enjoyed it, but they do keep saying, "Daddy, why do you get big windows and I get tiny ones?" Which I think is child code for, I'm going to throw up if you leave me back here for very long, especially while you're doing skids. Also, sorry if the camera looks a bit blown out. I've taken my camera on holiday and absolutely destroyed the front of my filter, so I need to get a new one. Not got round to it. Oh, USB-C and USB-A. Mustang bum! Can we take a moment to appreciate that Ford is still making a V8 sports car that looks so good from the back in 2025, and these quad pipes, they're massive, they sound dirty. Especially if you put it in the track mode, it sounds really loud and really good. Although there is a quiet mode as well if you want to be a good neighbour and not wake everyone up. Spoiler, part of the Dark Horse pack. Dark Horse pack also removes the rear Mustang badge or GT badge or whatever it's going to be on the normal one and puts that there. The boot. 381 litres of space. That is actually not bad. It's an awkward shape to get stuff in, but it's nice and deep that way, and you've got a tiny bit of space under the boot floor around the tyre inflation kit, and you've got side bits there, not here because this is the subwoofer for the sound system, but that's pretty practical. Perhaps not quite as practical as you might expect given the size of the car. And if I was being a very worthy, proper motoring journalist, I'd be telling you that that boot is halfway between M2s and M4s or something. I don't care, it's a Mustang. Look at it, it's great, it's iconic, everyone knows what it is, and it's still special to see these on UK roads, I think. Probably if you're American watching this, you've probably got 5 of them. All right, let's go for a drive in the Dark Horse. Obviously it's got keyless. Electric seats to move forward and backwards, but manual to do the tilt adjustment on them, and then manual steering wheel adjustment, which I seem to move every time I get in it. Not really sure why I do that, but anyway, I'm just going to put it in my custom mode, which is sporty suspension steering, loud exhaust, because I'm an absolute child. Now, as I said, you can push the handbrake down with your foot on the brake, and that takes it off. And then you just lift your foot off the clutch and let the torque creamily pull you away. Now, in terms of actually living with this, it does feel long because that bonnet is massive. The mirrors are okay, they're a little bit small, and the view out the back is sort of all right, but you do feel like you are piloting a massive torpedo down a very small tunnel going down British roads like this, and that's before you put your foot down hard in first gear, rip it into second, and then have the back step out onto the grass, which has not happened to me. But yeah, you do need to take a bit of care with this. It's got so much torque, and it grounds out. That was just a slight bump in the road, and this does ground out quite a lot, which is a bit weird for a Mustang. But you can always feel it pushing from the rear. Even with everything switched on, you'll have some little sideways moments, which is part of the Mustang's charm, isn't it? Let's not beat about the bush. People buy these because they like doing skids in car parks and things like that, possibly out of car parks. Oh, I love it. And the auto blipping is really good as well. The only thing I would say, hang on, let me concentrate. The only thing I would say is it just sounds so good. Even if you're just sitting there in a car park with it idling, that V8's got such a lovely offbeat idle. It feels like you're in a muscle car from the 60s. It really is something special, this engine. Naturally aspirated 5-litre V8. We just don't get engines like this anymore. Everything's sanitized. Even the 4-litre V8s we get from Volkswagen Group, they're turbocharged to buggery. Gear shift, really satisfying, really lovely throw. It's one of the highlights of driving this. The 10-speed auto when I drove it in the old one was just always hunting around, as I've said. The only thing I would say is with this Tremec one, you do have to slightly take your time because it's very easy to go from second to fifth. Doesn't matter because you've got the torque to pull fifth even at low speeds, but you do have to be careful that you don't shift somewhere you don't want to. And we're going to get to a twisty road in a second, and I'll give it a bit more of the L-berries, but I'm just, yeah, it is a unique experience to drive. It is like nothing else. It's not like driving an M2 or an M4. And actually, speaking of those BMWs, I was reading an Autocar review of this the other day. I don't normally read other people's reviews, but they figured this, tested it, and it's the same speed, 0 to 60, 0 to 100, pretty much as the latest M2. So it's not a slow car, but you do always think about putting your foot flat to the floor, even in second gear, on anything other than a perfectly smooth surface, because the suspension does sometimes feel like it's just dropping wheels into cracks and it's not really flowing with the road in the way that a Porsche would, frankly, or something like that. And I know I keep mentioning Porsches, but this is a 75 grand car now, so it's got to be up there with them. And it's not dynamically anyway, but we'll find out more about that in a second. Yeah, maybe it is a little bit of a straight line weapon. One thing that has surprised me about this Mustang, other than how good the auto blipper is and how good that sounds, is how it's actually kind of easy to place on a British road. It doesn't feel too wide, and I wonder if that's partly because I've just got used to everyone making big wide cars now, like the 911 I reviewed the other week. But this doesn't feel out of place in terms of width when you're driving it on a B road. Oh God, I don't know what the rear axle's doing. If you've got it in one of the sportier throttle modes, even just the sport throttle mode, it can feel like it's a bit too much hair trigger on the accelerator. It can be a bit too sensitive to do smooth gear changes. You end up sometimes getting an unexpected kick sideways from the back axle and things like that. So I'll just leave it normal as far as the throttle map goes. Maybe I'm just being a massive wetty, but I don't know. Let's get to twisty road and talk about stuff like handling and fuel consumption. Oh, I'll just do fuel consumption now. I've been getting 15. I've been getting 15 fuel consumptions. That's fallen off. Right, launch control. Let's see how this works. Oh, it holds the revs and then bogs down. That wasn't very good. But yeah, it is definitely a fast car. It is definitely up there with something like a BMW M2. It just delivers its power in a very nice linear way with a bit of a rush at the top end. But what's it actually like to drive like quickly-ish on a B road? Well, I would say it's probably the most reassuring Mustang we've had yet in the UK as a right-hand drive model, with that caveat. It's got slightly faster steering, so you feel like when it does slide, which it doesn't do all the time, you're going to be able to catch it a bit more easily. But it's just the suspension. Even with this Magna Ride setup in sport mode, you don't always know what the back tyres are doing, and I don't mean to say that in a really nerdy way. It's just you can't really trust it. On corner exit or on corner entry, even on a bumpy road, you're never sure if it's going to find traction or kick out slightly, and it always feels a little bit wayward, I think is perhaps a nice way to put it, which is a real shame, because when you do hook it up and get the bravery to boot it out, you fly out of corners with that great noise. It's just, you don't have much faith in the front end or the back end, which has always just been a Mustang thing. I just find it a bit hard to kind of put that against its 75 grand list price, really. And now it is really, with the Dark Horse pack, sported up a bit. You're going to go to your Porsche dealer, aren't you? Unless you want the back seats and get a Cayman or a Boxster, which would give you much more reassurance on a B road. But maybe you're buying this because you like big American V8s, which is absolutely fine. So yes, other tiny little niggles with this particular car. I can see the bumps where the wires are in the steering wheel for the heated steering wheel. That's not 75 grand, is it? And I've mentioned the kind of the general feel of the stalks is very cheap and unfinished feeling, which is a bit of a shame given the rest of the cabin now feels very nice. I forgot to mention as well that the suspension supposedly has pothole mitigation when you've got the Magna Ride adaptive dampers, so I presume that can very quickly react to potholes and things. But as I've said, this Mustang doesn't look especially low. Mustangs normally are quite high riding cars. This does ground out in places that I've never had cars ground out before, which is sort of what you'd expect in a GT3 RS or something, but in this, it's just on a bumpy British B road, you'll hear the underside being scuffed every now and then, which isn't very reassuring. But anyway, that's enough of a conclusion. Probably the sharpest driving Mustang we've had yet as a normal car, but still a Mustang. Let's head back to me for a conclusion. To sum up a car as iconic as the Mustang, I'd normally have a get out. I'd normally say if you want a Mustang, get a Mustang, because nothing else will do. But when it comes to Ford's V8 sports car, I think perhaps if you do want one, go and drive one, because I'm not sure you want one as much as you think. As a sports car, it's compromised. It is still heavy, and it does still feel quite wayward and a little bit sketchy in terms of its body control and the way it kicks that back end out, sometimes unexpectedly just between gear changes. There's a reason we see YouTube videos of these things ploughing into lampposts. That's not to say it's not enjoyable. As I said, it is a ball of anachronisms that is quite fun. That V8 is unlike any other modern engine. Naturally aspirated, it's a proper torquey monster of a thing. And mated to that manual gear shift, it is so satisfying doing your own gears, even if you let it do the down blipping for you. So it's a proper event. I do really like it. But now this is 75 grand, I wouldn't be buying one of these. I'd be buying a Cayman GT4, because you can turn all the systems off in that and feel safe because it's communicating with you. The steering is in tune with the chassis, and it feels like a much safer sports car to go fast in. This is very much a 7/10 sort of car, which is ironic because I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. It's the best the Mustang has probably ever been in its standard-ish form. It feels a bit more controllable than before, but it's still not really that well suited to British roads despite its charm. So there we go, that's a waffle. If you've liked this video, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, go down to the comments and leave me the American phrase for buy Mustang or we'll deport you. Goodbye.